The Witcher 4 entered development in March 2022, and so far the only things we really know about The Witcher 4 are when it entered development in 2022, and the fact that apparently we're going to have a new saga. People are assuming that the playable character we're going to have is not going to be Geralt. I think that's already been confirmed by CD Projekt Red. The playable character that we're going to have is, people are suspecting either Ciri, which would make sense, but equally what could make sense is if they do some sort of a Red Dead Redemption tactic and go for a prequel, make you play a new saga from potentially a new character or potentially a pre-existing character, someone like Vesemir, but you just play as him when he was young and handsome. Or, you know, maybe we'll play someone like fucking Ronvid from The Witcher 3, like, God forbid, but I mean, who knows. One thing that I'm questioning, and ever since I saw this whole new saga for the series, I was just hoping that when they talk about new saga for the series, they're not gonna do something like go down the same path as The Last of Us Part 2 went down, and I'm really hoping that's the case. And if you don't really know what I mean by that, The Last of Us Part 2 had the main character Joel die within like first 2 hours of the game in a 20+ hour game, and we'd already spent a whole game with him, and then they just kill him off to a character that, like, we don't even know, like Abby, the one that kills him off. Like, we don't even know much about her yet, so we don't have any reason to think, oh yeah, I understand why she's doing it. She just kills him off like pretty much first thing in the game, and they expect us to then go through this whole, play through her whole backstory and like sort of sympathize with her, but you've killed off the main character that people loved. So of course that's not going to happen, and I'm just hoping we don't get a similar situation with this where Geralt isn't the main character. Like, for example, if we're playing as Ciri, for example, I'm just hoping we don't first play as Geralt and then like 2 hours into who knows how long The Witcher 4 could be, like maybe 30-40+ hours, depending on if you just do story or side quests or you try and 100% the game. Who knows how long it could be, and if Geralt gets killed off in like the first hour or so of the game, and then you're playing as Ciri after that, they have to avoid making this same mistake, hopefully. I imagine, like myself, I don't really have anything against playing as Ciri. Like, I know if you played The Witcher 3, you'll know that there were times in the game where you could play as Ciri, like some sort of backstories where you could play as Ciri, and I know that some people weren't massive fans of it. I didn't mind it. I kind of liked the sudden being able to have like godly powers and just absolutely like rummage through all these poor people, slice and dice through all these poor individuals. Like, they just stood no chance. I know some people didn't like it because, you know, it's just kind of just overpowered, like you being able to teleport all over the place. And there was even one part towards the end of the game where Ciri got so pissed off that she just started killing the Wild Hunt members like with one hit. Like, we're going like that levels of overpowered. Like, I get the concern for that. That's one concern that I'm thinking of, is that if you were to make Ciri too powerful, there's a lot of powerful video game protagonists. Like, I mean, there's Kratos, there's Batman, there's Geralt, there's Master Chief, there's Doom Guy, and you play as all these protagonists, and you feel like you're just the most powerful being in this universe. But even those games, even if you play on something like normal difficulty, they're not going to be like a cakewalk. They're not going to be extremely easy. Like, although you have all these godly powers, or maybe you're just extremely powerful compared to everyone else in the universe, you're not gonna just ease your way through. And I think one concern that people have is that if you're playing as Ciri, who has these types of powers, which in The Witcher 3 you kind of just go through people with ease most of the time, the game's going to get pretty boring pretty quickly when fights might only last like 5 seconds. Even if there's like a group of bandits or maybe a group of like monsters, you're just like defeating them with ease because you can teleport and like nearly defeat them with one hit. Like, I imagine if her teleport is going to be in the game, if we do play as Ciri in the game, it's going to have a cooldown and she won't do as much damage. But that is one thing that I think people are concerned about. But another thing that people are really concerned about, and this is going back to the whole Last of Us Part 2, but I just hope with all the recent companies not being able to kill off the main protagonist, and usually when we talk about main protagonists, we're talking about like male main protagonists, when they kill off a main character in recent games, the character is always just killed off in a disrespectful way. Joel was killed off in the first 2 hours of the second game, and like to someone that we didn't even know yet, and by the end of the game you don't really sympathize with because, you know, everyone thinks she's an arsehole. I mean, one of the more recent examples is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which by the way, I made a video about. You should definitely go watch that. In that game, which only came out recently, Batman gets killed off in a really disrespectful way. You know, Arkham series Batman, Kevin Conroy voiced Batman, killed off to a bullet in their head. It's just like the most disrespectful way to kill off someone like that, man. Just killing him off like he's no one. Like he's just not the strongest person in the Arkham universe. And then there's also Superman they kill off, and then there's the Flash they kill off, and Green Lantern they kill off. You know, and it's not just games either, like movies have been doing it in a really bad way. What people are really concerned about when it comes to if we play as Ciri is they're gonna have this whole, we need to show off girl power. You know, this is something that, you know, people don't want this in their entertainment industry. They don't want it in games, they don't want it in movies, they don't want it in TV shows. We don't want this kind of agenda-driven narrative. Like Ciri and Yennefer and like Triss, you know, in The Witcher 3, there is no point where they need to actually say like, oh, we're really strong because we're individual women. Like there's no point where they need to say that, because they say it through the way they act, the way that they fight, the way that they look. They don't need to say that they're strong women, because we can see that by how they fight and how they look. Like, I mean, take one look at Ciri, for example. If I was to fight her, like, I'm pretty sure she'd kill me instantly. Like, I don't need her to say, oh, I'm a really strong individual woman, more powerful or just as powerful as the average male, just as powerful, if not more so than Geralt ever was. Like, fucking hell, I believe it. Like, and I think that's one thing that people, like, actually like with these types of media, is that it's not agenda driven, that there's nowhere in the game thinking that, oh, we have to actually make sure that Ciri and Yennefer actually say they're strong women, because otherwise people won't believe it. It wouldn't make sense. And I think this is a big concern that people have, is if Ciri is going to be the main protagonist of The Witcher 4, people don't want her to suddenly be like just an agenda-driven character, just with nothing else to her, like just no like fleshed out details of what's happened since The Witcher 3. We don't want a female character to be saying, oh, look at how strong I am, see, women can be even more powerful than men ever can be. People don't want that. They want to enjoy a game, and I don't think anyone who plays The Witcher 3 had a problem with any of the female characters or just any of the characters in The Witcher 3, because they were all perfectly written like how you would expect. There isn't one character that seems agenda driven, so I think that is one thing that we need to hope that CD Projekt Red don't tap into, because if it does happen that we get another kind of like Last of Us Part 2, like with Joel, but this time it's Geralt killed off in like the first 2 hours of the game, I don't know what they would expect. Like, people are not going to be happy. I don't have a problem with Geralt dying. I don't have a problem with Joel dying. I don't have a problem with Batman dying. My problem when they die is how they die. They should go out in ways that seems appropriate to them, like fearless, still in control of everything. Take the way that Lee Everett goes out in The Walking Dead Season 1, for example. When he dies, like, he knows his death is inevitable, and yet he's still a father figure to Clementine, and it just feels more relatable. Like, imagine Lee Everett instead survives the first game, goes into the second season, and just dies immediately, all scared and afraid. Like, it just seems so out of character, just really disrespectful to the character itself. I'm just hoping if Geralt is to die, he dies in a very respectful way, in a way that is believable, and we don't just have, you know, him dying to like a drowner or something after he's killed hundreds of them in the previous games. I just want a dignified end for him, and you know, he doesn't even have to die. He can just go off and do his own thing, and you know, it's just left to our own interpretation what happens. You know, maybe he just lives out his days with Yennefer and on whatever that vineyard was called, I can't remember now. Another thing that people are suspecting is that with a new saga is, are we going to get a new character, or is this character going to be a character that we already know, but it's a prequel and it's a young character, like, you know, young handsome Vesemir? Hey, I'm fine with this as well. I don't mind playing this new saga as long as it's done well. I mean, look at the way that Red Dead Redemption 2 did it. Like, no one knew who Arthur Morgan was at the start. No one even wanted to play as Arthur Morgan. They wanted to play as John Marston. And then by the end, everyone just loved Arthur. So I think it can be done to introduce a completely new character and have everyone love them by the end, or even just love them as early on as possible. The one thing that I don't want with this, like, I don't have as many problems or potential problems with this one as I do with the Ciri one, because I think Ciri one is a lot more disconcerting with how it possibly could go, as we've seen in other media. But I don't have as many problems with this, as long as, you know, you guys might have other opinions on this and other things that you don't want when it, in regards to if we have a new character or a character that we already know but we play as a younger self. The thing that would worry me is mainly if it takes place in a Witcher world where there's more Witcher schools around, around, because we're set in the past, you get to interact with more witches. I'm just hoping that we don't just see a world full of witches all of a sudden. You remember the DLC like side quest where you could run into another witcher? I can't remember what his name was. There was one side quest where you had to help this little girl out because her village had been massacred by this witcher. And this is like the only witcher that you see in the wild. I mean, it's probably wrong to say in the wild, they're not animals, but you know, just like roaming around in the wildlands, the only other witcher you come across, you know, that isn't in the main story. There is also Lambert, who is a bit of an animal, but we'll just forget about him. I personally don't want too many witches in the game. I would much prefer to just have more witches, but not just them everywhere. Like, I think that's gonna really just get rid of the kind of excitement of seeing more witches if they're just everywhere in the world. Like, I think running into them every now and then would be exciting, but if you have it so that they're just everywhere, I think it just kind of gets rid of the excitement of finding them. A new saga is perhaps more plausible, but obviously when you say new saga, that could mean Ciri could be a new saga, or young Vesemir could be a new saga, or just completely some new character in a prequel, or like a prequel, or just, I mean, a sequel if they really wanted to. I don't think that would go over well with people if we're just suddenly playing as some new character after Geralt instead of before. I guess we'll see how it goes. As I said, like, the one thing that I don't want in this is just another Last of Us Part 2 instance. Also, by the way, do you guys remember that guy who was playing Last of Us Part 2, got so upset with it that he got some scissors out and started cutting up the disc, and then just went back to playing like Mario Kart? Like, what a legend. I really hope that guy's doing well now. I digress. Like, as you can see on this article, like, we don't really know much else about the game. We don't know when it's coming out. We don't know who we're playing as just yet. We don't know how long it's going to be. We don't know where it's going to be set. We don't even know the name of it. All we have is The Witcher 4. This is also known as Polaris, or however you pronounce that. The only things we really know are very basic at the moment, so I'm just hoping CD Projekt Red don't go the way that other media have. Essentially, I just hope they don't go woke, because no one wants it. We've all had enough of it. You know, we just want a nice, entertaining game. Look at how Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League's gone. It's just gone downhill immediately. Obviously, The Witcher 3 was so successful that anything that The Witcher 4 does to come out is probably not going to feel as good as The Witcher 3, because The Witcher 3 is just so good. I just hope they don't absolutely butcher it, because that will be really disappointing if when we start the game it's just completely full of like woke stuff. I don't think anyone has a problem playing as Ciri if we are going to be playing as Ciri, or if we're just going to be playing as like a female character in a prequel, because I mean that's still plausible. We don't have a problem with that. We just have a problem with how they're written. We don't want someone who is full of agenda-driven wokeness. We just want someone who shows that they're strong by the way that they fight. But yeah, we don't really know much else about it at this point. We're not sure when it's going to come out. It's going to be on Unreal Engine 5. In terms of when it will come out, who will be the main protagonist, we don't know. So we'll just have to keep our eyes open. I'm basically just hoping it turns out well, because I really like the Witcher series, and if it turned woke, you know, it's just going to be really disappointing just to see another good series. I know the Netflix series didn't do well, and I'm pretty sure the third one had more woke stuff in it. I haven't watched the third one because I heard it was pretty garbage, and I think even Henry Cavill didn't like it, which is probably a good enough sign not to watch it. I think one thing that proves that we could be seeing a prequel instead of playing a Ciri is that if you look at the medallion, it's apparently a lynx and not a wolf, which at first would suspect a prequel, but also what else suspects a prequel is the fact that it's a lynx and not something like a swallow, like how, you know, Ciri was often referred to as swallow. No, swallow like the bird. It's not that sort of medallion, which kind of leads me to suspect that perhaps it is going to be a prequel and it's going to be some completely new character, or maybe it will be a young Vesemir. Hey Dad! Whatever it is, I just really hope it's good and not full of woke stuff. Hopefully if we play in a prequel with either a new character or there's not too many witches around. I don't want to just go into the world and there's just tons of witches all of a sudden. I want there to be like a sort of surprise when you see one. It's like old Minecraft versions where it was a rarity to come across villages, and obviously now you play like the latest Minecraft versions, like 1.20.4, and it's just like villages, pretty common occurrence. Anyway, we'll see what happens on that front. But please keep wokeness out of the game. Activism is great and should be supported, but the more that you throw it down people's throats and put it into the entertainment industry, the less people will want to support it. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Alligator. Someone told me you should click this. I don't really know what it is, but let's press it and find out, then sure, go ahead.